All right, so this is now our last looking at headlines and handshakes, the role of media in South Africa and Nigeria diplomacy. I've been looking forward to this one because this is a unique slot. It excites me because it's you, in that the fellows themselves are now speaking. So I look forward to hearing the insights that will be shared in this discussion. Of course, this panel discussion is chaired by my Leonard colleague, Professor Prinola Govenden. Prof, over to you.
Hi everyone. Do you mind if I sit here? I'm actually if you say yes, it actually means I mind. So I'm going to sit here also because I injured myself, but it didn't stop me from being at the summit because, as I told Chief over here, he only comes once a year. So I made sure that I'm here. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm sure many of you don't know me. It's the first time you're seeing me. But Dr. Chike and I over there, I told him I'm going to speak about him and he cringed. But Dr. Chike and I are actually the reason that you all are here. And today is about partnerships. It's about pan-Atlantic, it's about pan-African partnerships. It's about networking. And I think it also speaks to the importance of networking. So Dr. Chike actually studied in the UK with one of my mentors when I was doing my PhD. I won't say which university it is. Our vice chancellor calls it the university down the road with the blue carpet. You can figure out which university I'm talking about. But when I was doing my PhD at that university and I worked as a teaching assistant, one of my mentors, Professor Ufoma Akbojivi, you can Google him and his work, he was my mentor. And a host was needed for MIP2, and Dr. Chike and I connected the Pan-Atlantic team and us. So I'm so excited about how this partnership has grown. It's now MIP4. So I have the pleasure, and I'm so excited about chairing this panel because the fellows are essentially what this whole program is about, empowering our fellows. So I'm going to do an introduction, and usually we're told it has to be a very quick introduction, but because this is all about the fellows, it's not going to be quick. So I'm actually a bit overwhelmed and intimidated by this panel that's here. So when I read out their bios, you're going to see why. So our first panelist he said I can call him Yemi because I don't want to be threatened with any lawsuits. So I went to everybody and I checked how to pronounce names. So Yemi, before I introduce you, I do fear you a bit because after reading your profile, you actually are what we call the class rep. So I better be very nice to you. So Remy has been selected. Obviously, he's a fellow. He's also elected as class governor for his leadership and professionalism. So congratulations on that, okay? So in addition to that, Yemi is an award-winning broadcast journalist with Africa Independent Television, serving as presidential villa correspondent, head of the business desk, and newscaster in Abuja, Nigeria. He covers politics, the economy, energy, and social affairs with clarity and integrity. In 2014, so this is a very highly minted, I'm sure between all of you, you could fill out a whole trophy cabinet with all your awards, hey? So in 2014, he won the Nigerian Broadcasters Award for Most Valuable Newcomer in an Organization, presented by the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, alongside other professional awards and recognition for excellence in journalism. Yemi, welcome. Let's give him a hand. We're very excited. Blessings, next to me here, I'm also so excited about Blessings. She's a multi-award-winning journalist with over 5 years of professional experience. She currently serves as a news anchor and reporter for the reputable Pan-African Eloy TV Personality of the Year. Can you see why I said I'm quite starstruck here? You're really selected very well this year, Chief. Hey, okay. Icon, Nobel Award, Media Personality of the Year 2024. She is also, this is what I'm most excited about, she has also been named among the 25 most powerful women in journalism in Nigeria. Blessings. And I'm told I need to pronounce it with. You made it. Specialist with a long-standing background in writing, content strategy, event planning, and execution, and media production. Why I'm most excited about hearing their impressions become one of the last but definitely not least, Zainab. Did I say it correctly? Wonderful, right? So this is really special because I think this theme has come out throughout the panels about is there enough budget for journalists? Are journalists lazy? And you know, with the rise of neoliberalism and profit making of the media, often what gets pushed to the periphery is developmental journalism, social justice journalism, and Zainab has really done that well. She is a journalist and an SDG advocate who uses her platform to bring attention to issues affecting the Borno state in Nigeria. She covers conflicts, humanitarian, gender, health, climate, and environment and development stories for various news, climate, environment, and development stories for various news outlets, including the NTA, how do I say this? Meduguri. Thank you. Thank you. And some online platforms. Zainab's reporting, this is so impressive, has had a positive impact on the lives of people in Borno. For example, she reported on the issue of filled up toilets in an IDB camp in Jera, which then prompted UNICEF to take action and evacuate the toilets. Zainab also believes in peace building and uses her social media platforms to spread peace and encourage the populace to engage in peace building. She's also a recipient of multiple awards, such as the 2022 Alfred Oppenheimer Next Gen Best Campus Investigative Reporter of the Year. I hope our students here are taking note what you can become if you start off on campus and news. Investigative Reporter of Campus Journalism Awards 2022. Young Peace Advocate Award, 100 most influential young Nigerians. Wow. Chief of Army Award on the occasion of the 4th edition of the Nigerian Army Human Rights Seminar 2025, amongst others. Thank you, everyone. So let's begin. I'm going to hand over to the fellows. So I'm not going to give it an introduction. I think Dr. Zondo has done that. So the name of this panel is Headlines and Handshakes, the Role of Media in South Africa, Nigeria Diplomacy. We have a lot to say, and I'm sure you have a lot to say. So let's begin. Yemi, can we start with you? If you don't mind taking, do you want to sit here? You're going to have about 15 minutes to present. You're welcome to stand.
Hello. Okay. Please increase the volume for me. Thank you. Yes. All right, that's out of my time. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Okay, so please you do me a favor. The first slide. Let's go to the first slide. Okay. Now, Professor Prinola didn't finish my bio, but I'm just going to add this, that I have interest in running for a political office. So maybe later in here, that will be added to my profile. Okay, so I'm going to be talking to us simply about misinformation and diplomacy, how the media can prevent crisis between African states. So I'm going to start this way. We all have our phones here, and just imagine waking up to a WhatsApp clip that claims your country's soldiers have crossed into a neighbor's territory. And within minutes, it spreads across groups, diaspora networks, even radio callings. And by noon, anger is boiling, hashtags are trending, and before the foreign ministry issues a statement, the rumor has already drawn both nations to the brink of confrontation. And that, I say, is what the power of misinformation can do. And that is why we, I think, as journalists and media practitioners, are not just storytellers, we are diplomats. We are diplomatic first responders. I say this because you find out that most of the times, when you receive a video on your WhatsApp, some people don't even check the videos. What they do is just share and forward to everybody without fact-checking what the information that is contained in that video. So these are part of the issues that I strongly feel that we must address if we want to move the African continent forward. Next slide, please. Now, so I'm going to go briefly. Why does this matter? As you can see, I just outlined why this matters. Misinformation, this is what it can derail diplomacy. Africa's interwoven history, borders, and ethical ties can amplify risk. For example, in 2020, I don't know if any of us could remember this, there was a false report about South African troops met in Mozambique, which spread online and caused heated reactions. Before clarification could come, it has spread like wildfire. And we know what that happens. Because before a statement could be issued about what really transpired, it has gone viral. So these are why we're discussing this issue. And then if you look at, I also said a single falsehood can place states on the edge. Most of the time, you find out that when there are issues within the states, you find out that both countries might just issue a statement at the same time, conflicting statement without even clarifying what the issues are. And then there might be instructions from the president of both countries, and they will be like, okay, this should be our grand plan when this goes forward so that we can be able to neutralize whatever issue is. Next slide, please. Now, this is it, understanding what the problem is. What is misinformation? This is how I define what misinformation is. It is false information shared without intent to harm. Then I said disinformation, false information shared to deliberately harm. And I said malinformation, true information taken out of context to cause harm. I'm sure, even as the Africa, the world as a whole remembered the End SARS protest in southwest Nigeria. In fact, it happened all over Nigeria, the End SARS protest. And you could see that there were videos from another country, which is not happening right there in Lagos, that they were shared across platforms. I remember back then that before the Minister of Information in Nigeria then, Lai Mohammed, before he could send out an information that that was not correct, it has gone viral. And you could see a lot of people were even traveling at that time because they don't know what might happen next. So that is what misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation can cause. Next slide, please. And now, these are the risk factors I identified in Africa. Encrypted platforms like WhatsApp, Telegram, this is where most of the sharing occurs. And then translation gaps across languages. Recycled old footage, just like I said. Then sensitive context, elections, conflict, and terrorism. Then diaspora echo chambers, lack of early warning system. I gave an example there, just 2023 Sudan conflict. I'm sure we all remember what happened then. Next slide, please. Now, from falsehood to diplomatic friction. I outlined these by saying that this is a clear example of what misrepresented through movement, retaliation, Ethiopia-Eritrea peace tested by rumors, doctored embassy footage, false attribution of attacks, speech misquotes, and the likes. You understand that when we go for EU Summit at times, you discover that for some of us who don't understand the language, yes, they provide earphones for you to hear the translation of whatever is going on. But at times you find out that when the report comes out on several platforms, you see that there is some sort of misrepresentation of facts by some media houses because they clearly don't understand what the issues are. Next slide. Now, what's the media's role? I strongly believe that media should be the first responders in public trust. Verification clearly protects peace, collaboration slows rumors, and transparency builds trust. I gave an example of what happened in 2019 during the xenophobic attack here in South Africa. I remember then that Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs then, Jeffrey Onyema, it took him about 6 hours before he came to the villa to actually say that what we are seeing, what Nigerians are saying that is happening is not the true picture of what is happening in South Africa. And so these are instances of what misinformation can do in a splash. Next slide, please. So now, I outlined that we could have a prevention playbook to address some of these issues. One of it is a cross-border verification cells, two-source rule for state accusations, recency gates, check when and where content was captured, clear content labels, claim unverified and unconfirmed, then pre-bunking, that is one public of likely falsehood before the crisis, degenerates into something else. Next slide, please. So, next slide, I'll do because of my time, next slide. So now, I believe that South Africa is very, very strong. And I believe that when this happens, I outlined these 3 points by saying that if we coordinate a SADC editors debunk forum, because when information comes out of South Africa, most of the times, a lot of people don't even take time to verify back home. You just find out that, okay, this is what is happening there. A lot of people push it out without even fact-checking it. Then I also said that provide multilingual clarifications in Zulu, Afrikaans, Portuguese, and English. Then host quarterly newsroom diplomatic drills. I believe that there is need for us to have a stronger collaboration between South Africa and Nigeria, because you find out that most of our editors, both here in South Africa and then in Nigeria, do things at crop purposes at times. Before you try to verify what issues are, most just go to the press without trying to fact check what the issues are. Next slide, please. Now, so how do we measure the success? I said speed, time for a rumor to correction. Visibility, correction must travel as far as the falsehood. Impact, fewer crises escalated by misinformation. You understand that the tiniest issue can cause a lot of misinformation, because when a lot of people just, most of the time say, okay, this is what they say is happening in this country. They don't verify. They just go out with it and don't verify at all. So I believe that when we put some of these issues in check, you fact check, you are sure about whatever you are putting out to the public, certainly we will address some of these issues confronting the continent. Next slide, please. Now, this is my call to action. Misinformation is a diplomatic risk factor, not just a media issue. We must commit to fast verification, transparent corrections, cross-border alliances. And I say, right journalism at the right time can prevent war. Next slide, please. So, this will be my passing gift for everyone. Let us keep Africa talking and not fighting. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Permit me to recognize the Executive Dean in absentia, of course, heads of departments, facilitators, ladies and gentlemen of the press, and the distinguished guests. My name is Blessings Mosugu. I'm a broadcaster and a reporter with News Central Television, Lagos, Nigeria. I'm also a fellow of the Media Innovation Programme, Cohort 4. And with all the grammar you'll be hearing today, I'm only proposing one simple thing, and that is the spirit of Ubuntu. Now, for the non-South Africans amongst us, let me explain. Ubuntu is a word from 2 South African languages, and that is Zulu and Xhosa. It basically means I am because you are. Archbishop Desmond Tutu put it in a very simple context when he says, a person is a person through other persons. And so as humans and as journalists, the elements of humanity, generosity, factuality, as well as empathy should not be lacking amongst us. Now, as Nigerians, the core of our belief is unity. And that's why it's the first word in our coat of arms, our national motto, unity and faith, peace and progress. Yorubas will say, Ejeka sowokpo kafi moshokon. I'm not going to ask you to try it so that we can leave here today, but basically what it means is let us come together and hold hands. So as I proceed with my presentation, I want you to picture humanity, I want you to picture unity and Ubuntu. That said, let's take a look at the abstract. Today I'll be talking about the other side of the story, journalism, justice, and joint prosperity. Or better still, journalism, justice for joint prosperity. Now, Nigeria and South Africa have had a love-hate relationship for a while now, and you wonder why. And at the heart of that rift, you find policy and you find perception. Perception because, unfortunately, there is a gap in representation. So a lot of times we do not exactly represent the fact as it is, and that is peculiar to South Africa, Nigeria, and other African countries. Now, I like how business moguls, content strategies, and enthusiasts put it. They say something like brand or be branded, and that also basically translates to tell your story or they tell it for you. And that's the mistake we're making on the African continent. South Africans do not necessarily come out to tell the fact as it is. So do Nigerians. And that way, it leaves a lot of room for speculations, a lot of room for assumption. So this paper aims to bridge that gap, to find how we can solve the problem of assumption and speculation, and basically to foster joint prosperity. The objectives at the end of this would try to examine the persistent imbalances in Nigeria-South Africa relations with a special focus on media narratives, to also analyze how recent occurrences have been reported by both countries' media and the impact of these portrayals on public perception and diplomacy, to highlight the role of balanced, fact-based reporting in reducing stereotypes and fostering mutual trust, to also identify opportunities for media-driven cooperation, including cross-border collaboration, fact-checking, and cultural storytelling, to recommend policy and practical interventions that can reposition the media as a tool for Pan-Africanism. Next slide, please. Now, the background and context. A historic bond was forged between Nigeria and South Africa. Now, during the anti-apartheid struggles, Nigeria supported South Africa. I'm sure we all know that. Down to Nigerian civilians contributing a portion of their salaries to the struggle. Now, Nigeria had contributed an estimated $61 billion towards the anti-apartheid efforts at the end of the movement, while South Africa, over the years, has become one of Nigeria's most significant business allies. And as of 2020, trade between both countries stood at $2.9 billion. I'll tell you why these numbers are important as we proceed. Let's go, please. So the problem statement here, number one, narrative. Misrepresentation and evasion of the facts. For example, I just mentioned $2.9 billion. How many times does the media really mention that? We don't. Instead, we focus on xenophobia, which I'll come to. And we also have misrepresentation of a lot of other things. For example, a Nigerian does something and we blow it out of proportion and say Nigerians are like this. A South African does something, we blow it out of proportion and generalize it. Number two is historic solidarity being overlooked. I also mentioned that Nigeria did support South Africa with a total of 61 trillion US dollars, billion, I beg your pardon. Nobody talks about that. We instead focus on the little things that happen and we try to escalate it. Number three, media amplifying stereotypes rather than correcting them. I'm sure that's self-explanatory, and at some point, one of us has fallen victim of this. Now, number four is public opinion being shaped by this media narratives that I talked about. Because again, there's a gap in communication. So the public does not necessarily understand what's happening. It's what the media feeds them with that they run with. And unfortunately, the media doesn't do so well in challenging the narratives out there. We heard earlier from one of our presenters, spectacle diplomacy. That's according to Professor Admire. Now, this matters because if we don't bridge the gap, it will be more difficult to attain the unity that we so seek. And as a fellow of the Media Innovation Programme, comes such South African ancestry. Defense, media, art, and entertainment, the AMVCAs, we see hosts enter there. Now, the first one I'll mention before going to this is one of the things that came to me in the course of this summit, and that is know who you are and represent who you are. If we do not know who we are, if we do not carry who we are on our heads, like Nigerians say, carry your matter for your head, nobody would be able to represent our interests as well as we can. I'll give an example. Now, this is no shade to any content creator, but I know a lady on TikTok who does a sarcastic form of content where someone in the West would ask, oh, do Africans have water? And she'll come out and say, no, we don't have water, we drink from this. As funny as that sounds, how then do we debunk the rumors? How then do we let them know that, no, we actually have Wi-Fi, we have internet, right? It's funny, it's entertaining, but then we need to be able to portray the actual reality of who we are to the outside world. That's why they still call Africa a country, because nobody has really told them that it's a continent. Now, mutual respect, culture, names, intentionality. At News Central, for example, we are tasked with correct pronunciations. We have a South African correspondent. Her name is Mbongani Siziba. And we're not just allowed to call her Bongani, right? So we have to learn. We also have Inamaso, the president, Cyril Ramaphosa. We don't just call him Cyril Ramaphosa. And of course, Gauteng. We don't call it Gauteng. Now, to show respect and hopefully, I'm sure the same thing applies to South Africa, and that's why we appreciate the effort made to pronounce the name Funsho correctly. Also, when we walked in this morning, what we heard instead of the Amapiano was the Afro beats. And I'm sure, like every other person, it made us feel welcomed. It made me feel at home. I was dancing and vibing, and I realized this was intentional. It wasn't just some random music. So kudos to you, Jay, for that. Now, very quickly, 3 layers of engagement: government to people, and people to people. Government to government in the sense that there's so many policies and reforms that can be achieved when both governments come together. For example, bilateral national commission should be brought back as soon as possible. There's also government to people. When the e-hailing drama happened, I feel like there was a lot of gap because the governments did not come out to say, oh, this is not a representation of South Africa or of Nigeria. And so we were led to give out a lot of speculations. Oh, Nigerians are looking for trouble. Oh, South Africans are looking for trouble. And then there's also people to people. Now, this is the most important because Nigerians will always say a government is a reflection of its people. So as a person, when you're coming to visit South Africa, don't come with the intention that they will steal your phone. Every country has its own challenges. So if you come with a defensive mindset, you realize that you are not welcoming of South Africans. We need to be open-minded. We need to be able to embrace their culture, their way of life. And the same thing applies to South Africa and the rest of the African continent. Now, balanced media narrative, equal balanced economies. When the media tells one stories of rivalry, it affects investor confidence and public trust. So we need to be careful. The media is at the heart of storytelling on the African continent. And of course, cross-perspective reporting through media partnerships as well. I would also talk about policy support for cross-border creative projects. For example, the MIP cross-border creative project, and that's a very creative project because you go back with a new mindset, with an open mind to also tell the story of what you have seen and what you have experienced. So be ambassadors for peace, just the way people come to me, for example, since I joined the MTN Media Innovation Programme, asking why there's data disruptions. They should be able to come to you as the source of factual news, and you'll be able to give it to them. Next slide, please. In conclusion, Nelson Mandela said, since we have achieved our freedom, division can only come from amongst us. Olusegun Obasanjo also said, economic Pan-Africanism is what would lead to the economic liberation of Africa. The challenge of information imbalance should not define the existing relationship. Instead, it should be overcome through fact-based balanced reporting. The possibilities are endless for both economies in terms of continental trade, digital innovation, shaping global culture, and strengthening peace. Next slide, please. Going forward, and even in the football game tonight, remember, you're first human before you're a journalist. So always remember Ubuntu.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. All right. So my presentation is please, yeah, I would like you to use a PowerPoint, not the Word document. Yeah, at the PDF I shared it. All right. So my presentation is titled Digital Diplomacy in Africa, Leveraging ICT. Okay, so let me just move on. I wanted to make an address, but so let me just move on. And I'm going to read this while she showed the pictures, but the pictures are useful for my illustration, so I hope that we have it. Hope that we have it. It's quite tricky, and that is because both countries we share a similar history of struggle and diversity, but we have maintained an erratic diplomatic relationship for many reasons. Our relationship had fluctuated between cordiality, hostility, confrontation, whatever it is.
But in this paper, I'm going to highlight a few strides that have been achieved by digital platforms in both countries, and I will examine the impact of some of these things, and I'll make some suggestions, practical suggestions on how we can leverage ICT platforms going forward. So I'm going to start with the first item. I wish I have the picture on the screen. Amapiano, when culture, creativity, and streaming merge. In June 2023, Spotify celebrated a decade of Amapiano music. Okay, thank you. So, the second screen. Good, thank you so much. In 2023, Spotify celebrated a decade of Amapiano music. And I will tell you a brief history of Amapiano. It was invented in the townships of outskirts of South Africa's major cities, like we passed through. Some people believe that Amapiano was created in response to the Afrobeat wave. But what we know is that Amapiano borrows from keys and melodies from both jazz, some drums, and tempo from music house and the Bacardi, while Quarto learns Amapiano from its bass lines and harmonies. I mean, if you're a music person, you understand the combination of beats that I've described. But since then, Amapiano has evolved in different directions. Its dominance of mainstream music in South Africa gave it prominence across Africa, beginning from Nigeria, and that was the origin of its entry into the global dance music arena. And thanks to the strength of digital platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and YouTube Music, the reach of Amapiano has become ubiquitous and its impact has become global. In 2020, that genre Amapiano on Spotify got 100 million streams. This was followed by an impressive 200% increase in the next year, so it became 300 million streams by 2021. And that solidified its global popularity. We had, in 2020, 1.2 million Amapiano playlists, and as at 2023, the songs Amapiano, labeled Amapiano on Spotify has grown to 1.4 million playlists and over 800 million streams. Now, this international phenomenon was influenced by the impact of Nigeria. Whatever you want to say about Amapiano stopped being a South African phenomenon and had a Nigerian influence, and I'm going to tell you how. If you recall, there was a song called A Lot of Nigeria. Attention, I hope I pronounced it right. By richness of Akin Apopo. Understand the story of Akin Apopo, and I can give you a lot of illustrations of other Nollywood characters that were created in Nigeria. But that is not where the impact of Nollywood stopped. For example, Anikulapo, which is a movie on Netflix, was ranked #1 in over 27 countries in its first week of release. And according to statistics, in just 8 days of release, Anikulapo had 8,730,000 hours of stream cumulatively. That is a Nigerian movie that was produced purely in Yoruba language with English translations, but watched in over 27 countries. That is the power of Nollywood. Today, what is trending is Shaka Ilembe. And it has become the most awarded drama in the history of South Africa Film and Television Awards. What I read about it is I got an award recently in Netherlands, and I have the reference on a document in case anybody wants to read it. And MultiChoice just announced, I think a few weeks ago, that it has begun the production of Season 3. Season 2, according to what we heard, provided over 8,000 jobs during the production alone, and over 16,000 jobs in subsequent. They said they are going to be providing 16,000 jobs in the Season 3 production. So just imagine 16,000 young people behind the camera, continuity, and a couple of things for just producing one season movie. In my own opinion, Shaka Ilembe has set a new standard for African storytelling, while showcasing South Africa's beautiful heritage to local and international audiences. I don't miss the show every Sunday night. I love the dances, the demonstration, the fight. If you remember the fight between the Matweta, Zuide's army, and Shaka himself, the Zulu king, at some point my heart was palpitating because I did not want Zuide's army to win. He had been too wicked in that story. So when 5 out of his 6 sons were killed, I felt bad, but I also felt happy. You know, I understood the Zulu story in a way that no lecturer could have taught me by watching that series. But can we go beyond that? Can we fund a movie that can talk about the collaboration between South Africa and Nigeria in the past? Maybe we could have a movie about the story of Thabo Mbeki and about his struggles and the struggles of the ANC that made ANC senior members to travel around Africa seeking for refuge and support. Thabo Mbeki lived in Nigeria for a few years, between the 1976 and 1978, and his story about his sojourn in Nigeria can be a reflection of both cultures and how we have been supportive of each other in the past. The next example that I'm going to give is, next one, is a story of service, impact, and investment, MTN Nigeria. Undoubtedly, next slide please. MTN Nigeria is South Africa's most notable export to Nigeria. I believe so. So far, they have risen to the leadership of Nigeria's telecom ecosystem through painstaking effort of the team, heavy investment in research and development, and unwavering commitment to excellent service delivery. In May, the MTN Group revealed that it has invested over $10 billion in Nigeria's digital infrastructure since launching operations in 2001. As a pan-African operator, it has played an active role in laying the digital groundwork for the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCTA. As an impact-driven organization, MTN has done beyond delivering quality service to Nigerians. It has also helped Nigerians in their lifestyles. MTN has invested over 32 billion naira in 3,500 communities, in over 570 local governments across 36 states in Nigeria and the country's capital. And this impact, according to a representative of MTN, has impacted over 33 million citizens. That is the size of some countries in Africa. Thank you. As we speak today, MTN is funding the rehabilitation of the Enugu-Onitsha Expressway, a major connecting road in the southeastern part of Nigeria, under the Infrastructure Development and Refurbishment Investment. But we shouldn't also stop at MTN. I believe there are more MTNs in South Africa that you could export to us, that could enter some of our fledgling sectors. Nigeria has great sectors that are doing well, even better than South Africa, I dare say. But we have fledgling sectors like mining, like defense production, like agriculture, and animal husbandry. For those of us that know about the stories of cows and human lives, you understand what I'm saying. But South Africa has a lot of cows and good meat, I must say. And people don't have to die for the cows to eat. So you can teach us how you do that. Nigeria can proactively seek some of these innovators, and we can possibly create a special visa category for some of these people, including some other incentives for investment. It was until recently that I heard that getting a Nigerian visa can be difficult, but Nigeria can do better, especially for innovators like this. But Nigeria also has some of the finest talent in banking and fintech. We've seen a lot of tech solutions come out of Nigeria, and Nigeria has more to talk about. South Africa can create a counterpart special residential visa category for some of these people. I know Nigerians are very adventurous. We live in Japan, we live in Taiwan, we can live anywhere. And if South Africa can create a special system that would allow fintech startups thrive, a lot of Nigerian tech talents can live in this country and impact the ecosystem. In conclusion, putting it all together, I've highlighted numerous other ways that these countries can leverage digital channels to foster our relationship. But there are more that I could talk about if I had more time. We can talk about food tourism. We can talk about content creation. We can talk about seamless cross-border payment technology, so I can buy in rand and pay in naira without stress, even from my house in Lagos. But indeed, if we look very closely, the opportunities outweigh the challenges. And conversations such as this would help us recognize our strengths, and it goes beyond diplomacy and politics. Simple platforms like content creation with creative people like Nigerians on the screen can foster our culture in a simple but yet indelible ways beyond what we can recognize. Thank you very much.
Executives. Okay, good day, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I can see you all look radiant. Please, before I start, I want to make a disclaimer, Prof. So I will be making, this is my topic, but I will be making a comparative analysis between what women content creators do in Borno, in my region, in promoting peace, and then what I saw online that content creators are doing in South Africa and what they can do better. I'm not describing xenophobia as a conflict situation, but it's an extremist ideology that needs to be stopped. If you could go back memory lane, you will agree with me that it keeps on reoccurring, and we need to stop that. We need to change the narrative. Secondly, I choose to focus on this topic because women, the UN Women said, when you engage women in peace building agreement, the chances for it to last for 2 years increases by 20%. And of course, I saw that where I'm coming from. I'm not a feminist, so I'm not saying women are better than men, women are superior than men, or any other thing. Yeah, so let's go. So my first objective is to compare the role of women social media content creators in countering this BH stands for Boko Haram ideology in Borno and xenophobia in South Africa. Introduction. So the media, as an integral part of human life, is central to communication, information sharing, exchange of cultural ideas, and of course, strengthening diplomatic ties. For example, Voice of America. Some of us might have read their news online or have listened to it on radio. At every end of their news, there's an editorial that reflects the policy of US government. For example, on 5th September, they did a story about the human rights abuses happening in Iran. Please let me ask you, is Iran the only place that has human rights abuses? No, but they align with Iran, saying Iran love America, so they stand with them. And then most African countries, about 48 of us, listen to news on VOA. So this tend to shape our perception because the content we consume shapes the way we understand things and then has an effect on us. Sometimes you can say the medium is the message, like Marshall McLuhan rightly put it. I came across a Facebook post about the issue of this hospital scene in South Africa. For a moment, I became skeptical. But, you know, they said the media may not tell you what to think, but definitely they will give you a direction of what you should think about. And this is talking about the agenda setting. Like the big name implies that SABC is one of the biggest media organization here. I checked them out and I saw, yeah, that's actually what is happening. So this is tell you the power of the media in shaping our perception, in dowsing narrative, depending on how you use it. And one more thing is, for me, whenever I heard the word foreigner, if you should call me foreigner, honestly, I will pick an offense. Because what we fail to understand that is that there are different sides, there are different meaning, or let me say side to a particular word. To you, conflict might be positive, to somebody it may be negative, to somebody it may be neutral. This is also attainable to the word xenophobia. Initially, it's a positive word, but due to the context, it turns out to be a negative word. So in my own region, where I'm coming from, although we were ravaged by insurgency for more than a decade, properties lost, houses, people displaced, houses burned down to ashes, and of course, schools also affected. People lost their means of livelihood. Then there was this misconception, false narrative, misinformation, disinformation, violence of every sort. What the government first did was, both the state government and the federal government, they employed the use of media as a diplomacy tool. They came out with strategic communication and engagement to douse the narrative and promote peace. So this was introduced in 2021. They started by, they did a stakeholder engagement, like, so that they preach the word of forgiveness, reconciliation, arbitration, compensation, justice. Why I bring this is because I read the work of Desmond Tutu. I'm a Muslim. So when you compare the two religions, no religion say you should fight or kill one another. And no woman will want to give birth and see her child killed or hated. Most of us, the first thing we do when we come home is to like, why is mommy, even if you don't have anything to ask. So that's the power of the woman is there. They use, this Tribe Juvenile is a radio program because they cannot use English now to communicate to the locals. We want peace. We want people to come on board. We want dialogue. So you go to them using their local language, things that they enjoy the most. If you should do this on TV, I'm sure half of the population in my location will not have access to TV because some of them are poor. You know, you have to like consider the gap, be it economical gap and then information between the information poor and the information rich. Sorry. So Strive Juvenile was a project radio program that uses two indigenous language in my location, discussing about protection of children from being recruited into extremism, how we can love one another, unite with one another. Zaman Lafiya Jari, this is in Hausa. It's also about peace building. It's a radio program on different radio stations in my state. Then we have Mazona Lafiya. This is on my radio. Though I started it without any funding, and later on we got a sponsorship for that. The Advocate is also a free radio program. Now, this brings about typical issues on board, not necessarily the peace building. Anything that has to do with development is being discussed. And all of these are live phone-in programs whereby people can call, ask for questions, seek for contribution, or lay their complaints. And then the presenters make sure it reaches the right channel. Because if you want peace, you have to like, maybe not really compensation, but at least you have to bring everybody on board to hear their own side of the story. So now, the use of social media influencers by search for common ground. I happen to be one of those influencers. And then the last part, which is the focus of that they are in from what phones do you do that, you do that. So phones do you do that, you do that. So these women were used from July to August, and believe me, they were able to reach out to 174 women in 2 months. And of course, with massive surrendering, for some of them that couldn't surrender and come out, they stopped launching attacks. And they now give out, let me say, sensitive information about where some of these things are happening towards curtailing the insurgency. So now, I have some case studies. Next slide, please. Next. 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 Okay, this is a video I saw on Facebook. South African clinic is about to use biometric system to scan foreigners if they are in home affairs. South African system. Does that mean, for example, as a visitor that I am, if I should fall sick, I will not be attended to at any hospital? I think this is a negative narrative about South Africa. And one thing many South Africans are not aware of is they don't know that South Africa is a member of the United Nations country. That is, you're also using the SDGs, which SDG 3 says that accessing health is a right to everyone, not a privilege. So I feel journalists can do a story about these SDGs, trying to balance the narrative so that we have everybody accessing these services. Even if it's education, don't exclude the black, don't exclude the whites. Please, the next one. To Zimbabwe, and the same thing, not to everybody, at least second government policy hoping it will be adopted as well. Establishment of zonophilia content using available content creators in South Africa. This time around, the first one, we want the people of South Africa to own it. It's your own. We are not, the only thing we can do is maybe to like it and share it for you. You create your content. Countering xenophobia, even if it's the word, what it means, it's not supposed to be here. Like from my national anthem, it said, the labors of our heroes past shall never be in vain. In vain, that's the old one. So the use of media for peace and development, I believe in development communication. So I believe we can roll out narratives in this regard. The formation of a group of content creators and media practitioners that will counter xenophobia using journalistic content from both countries, Nigeria and South Africa, jointly produce content, break echo chambers. What we mean by echo chambers here, for example, you know, before my visit to South Africa, my view of South Africa is totally different. So if I should write anything about South Africa, it will totally be biased. But when I link up with any fellow journalist here, we have a balanced story. I share my own perspective, she does. And then this co-authorship, like when you write my name, Zainab from Nigeria, somebody, they will know that yes, we know what we're seeing. And people, the love for people have for me from Nigeria, they will believe it, because sometimes the medium is the message. So they will believe it, and probably it may have an impact on them. So also with the South Africans. Then formulating a template for reporting xenophobia to avoid escalating further violence. I was trained in conflict-sensitive reporting, and I believe it applies to this. There are words you don't use, and there are narratives you don't use when writing your stories to avoid inciting or glorifying violence, to avoid further harms. You don't blame or victimize an individual. So I think maybe if you have a template for it, it will guide your narratives, because I know there are ethical codes. And from where I'm coming from, we have MBC. I dare not put out negative content. I'll be sanctioned. So yeah, we are advocating for a free press, but when we have these templates, we'll be guided on our daily operations. And then lastly, introduction of adopt a community for peace through engagement of foot soldiers to educate their communities on the effects of negative vices. The media, we don't just disseminate information. We're there for the people, and the people are our people. So let's assume maybe a group of journalists, we try to segregate ourselves, but this time around, it's not every community, because I know our resources are limited. So let's assume we have, we think of the hardest communities hardest areas affected by this xenophobia. Maybe we'll link up with their stakeholders, somebody that is influential, that can push that narrative. The campaign can start offline and then online. Like, if you want to adopt a policy, use your own, like localize it, use your own people, and believe me, it will get acceptance. Thank you.
Thank you so much to this panel. The next slot, I think, is the certificate presentation. And before we move on to that, I just want to say I can see it's very, very well earned. Very, very impressive. And how I want to end is that I think Blessing said that, and a lot of you highlighted the love-hate relationship our two countries have. And this panel was about zooming in really with spectacles, our relationship, whether politically, our history, our philosophies. Yeah. Oh, must I do that? Oh, okay. I'll do it. Thanks, Dr. Zondo. Yeah, so we zoomed in on our political relations, popular culture. David, I'm so glad you like Shaka Ilembe. I just smiled. I'm so impressed. And our history and telecommunications, MTN Nigeria, our gender relations. But I really just want to applaud this panel, because despite me saying that, and despite all of you, me knowing about the love-hate relationship, I really, you entered this panel and gave such a love perspective. I was a bit nervous to chair this panel, because I'm very aware of our South African media as somebody that looks at elements of power, race, and class in the media. And our post-apartheid media, as I call it in my research, is not a mirror on society. It's a reflection of so many power dynamics, so many isms, and xenophobia is one of them. I know even when I was a first-year student, we would then analyze the star. There was no digitization. I'm giving my age a bit here. And we would, in first year, we would already learn that when a crime is committed and it's done by somebody that's not South African and they reside on the African continent, you're named, whether Pakistani, Somalian. So I'm very aware of our media in South Africa, and I think there's no better example of Chidima as someone that watches beauty pageants. I was shocked. So those of you that, I'm sure you all know about what happened with Chidima. Chidima is somebody that was born in Soweto with Nigerian and Mozambican roots, and I know I'm talking about beauty pageants, and some of you might be wondering it's not relevant. It's very relevant, because then one of our ministers came out. I'm sure you know who the minister was, wanting to investigate. So I want to thank you, because I'm very aware of the wrongdoings of our media, but as people that actually are a part of the media and that are charged with having media diplomacy, I'm so hopeful that you all came here and you centered South Africa, Ubuntu, Shaka Lembe, and emphasizing what a big role we have. I'm hopeful that in the many ways we portray African countries in hateful ways, I'm hopeful that you could come here, look at us positively. So I want to thank you. I really felt the love. Thank you. And I learned so much from your presentation, so well done to all of you. Some of you are actually ready to do your PhDs, hint, hint. You know who you are. So if Chief allows, maybe we do have a MOU, so maybe we can do co-supervision or, okay. So Dr. Zondo said we can do a few Q&As. We are ahead of time. So we'll take around, I don't know if any of the student assistants here are here to man. Please do engage. I think Prof, is there anyone else that wants to go after Prof here? Prof Mandla Radebe. He's got a question, yeah. You can take my mic. I'm done talking.
Thanks, Prinola. I think I must join you. I think you guys deserve a huge round of applause for. And I hope I will get your presentations, because I want to use them for my teaching as part of the examples. Just 2 points. I think you're raising a very important point. I mean, if you go to social media, Facebook in particular, there's a banter that usually happens between Nigerians and South Africa around soccer. And the problem with that is that some people may take it so seriously and don't understand that it just ends there, it's a banter. So I think the context is very important. But I just wanted to raise one point, because I think it is important that you are raising in your presentation, the rise, I call it the rise of the far-right ideology globally. We've seen it with the rise of Donald Trump in the US, Modi and the BJP in India, in Brazil, Bolsonaro, even in Germany, there's a far-right. So there is a rise of far-right globally, and South Africa is no exception. And we are seeing this rise in South Africa in what I called ethno-nationalism. So it does not start with xenophobia. It starts with, that is why I'm Zulu, who's from Soweto, but I have a serious attitude towards Ishaka Ilembe, in my view, because what it does, it perpetuates, Zulus are by far the majority in South Africa. We are dominant, we speak our language, we make everyone speak Zulu. You'll believe that in Gauteng, for example, everyone is Zulu, where Zulus are not so that's how dominant Zulus are. So what then happens is that it then perpetuates the ideas of ethnicity in South Africa. It permeates across the country. Zulus against the Xhosas. It was a serious violence when we were growing up. So I, the South African, 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 the South there is this idea of ethno-nationalism that I talk about. But it is migrating to politics, and that is why we then see the rise of Gayton McKenzie, that's the minister Peronola is talking about, who campaigns on pure xenophobic messages, abahambe. A very, very, very problematic posture. We've got the rising of organizations such as Operation Dudula. But I think what should give us comfort is that the major political parties have not fallen to the ideas of using xenophobia as messages. So I think that context is very important. So that when we discuss xenophobia, you don't discuss it as an isolated case. You must locate it in the problems in South Africa of ethnicity, a narrow ethnicity, the problem of racism. And I call it ethnicity because it cuts across race. You find organizations such as, for example, AfriForum, who are using the same ideology of ethno-nationalism. So located in that context, but the danger of media not correcting that, and social media not, sometimes when it's a friendly banter, I usually understand it between Nigerians and South Africans, but some people might not understand it. But excellent work, I really enjoyed your presentations.
No, thank you very much. To reiterate,
Please introduce yourself, young man.
okay.
Thank you so much.
my name is Lungatwesha. I'm a second year law student at the University of Johannesburg. And just to reiterate the submission made by one of the panelists, that MTN has garnered so much success in Nigeria that majority of the Nigerian citizens might think it is indigenous to Nigeria. And I think it just plays in what I have to say, that there is a bit of a trade imbalance between South Africa and Nigeria, that we may have a lot of South African products in Nigeria, whereas we have a bit less in South Africa. I'd say the only thing about Nigerian cuisine that I know is jollof. It's quite popular, but I think we might need to do better in that regard, that we have a lot of Nigerian products in our shelves and that we foster those relations as a country, taking into account that I think one thing that the media has failed in doing is that it has failed to impart that knowledge in young South African kids, that Nigeria played a huge role financially and diplomatically in eradicating apartheid, because the Nigerian government did ration out funds, did assist diplomatically in the anti-apartheid movement, which was the ANC in that time. And a lot of South Africans do not know about that. So I think that's something that has to be addressed also. And also just to speak on the Amapiano part, it's an indisputable fact that Nigeria and Nigerian artists played a huge role in popularizing Amapiano. And I think what causes the conflict in that regard between South Africans and Amapiano is that South Africans do acknowledge that Nigerian artists did contribute heavily to the Amapiano sound and its global success, but now it is open to interpretation whether with or without Nigerian influence would Amapiano have made it globally. So yes, I think that's my submission.
Even if you just want to appreciate the panel, it's also okay. You want to say something, Yemi? You can, yeah. No, you can have the mic. Feel free. This panel is about diplomatic. Okay.
All right. I like your submission, and that you're asking that there is need to have more of Nigerian investment in South Africa as we have back home. And I must say that MTN Nigeria is fantastic. It's doing great, despite having this, a South African ancestry and the likes. But again, I also feel strongly that we really need to know more about each other beyond just the mere surface of having bilateral elections and the likes. For example, I'm a fan of football, and back home every Saturday, I watch Orlando Pirates. I watch. I watch. I watch. Yes, bro. I watch Mamelodi Sundowns. I know teams in South Africa. In fact, I know some players of the South African women team. I can mention names: Sepusenwe, Katlana, and the likes. So, so I feel that there is need for us to also know more about history of ourselves. It was quite interesting to visit the Appetite Museum. We saw a lot, and we were informed. There are different perspectives we are taking on, to understand more about what South Africa does. I think that's just a comment I want to make. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yemi. Are there any other comments?
Yeah. Okay, just to also respond to some of the points that you made in terms of trade. Yeah, it is true that there's a deficit. There's an imbalance between Nigeria and South Africa. I think in the last export trade reports from data body, we saw that Nigeria just exported around 700. They exported less compared to what they imported from South Africa. So yeah, while that fact exists, we feel that in the areas where South Africa has made some improvements, for instance, in its industrial sector, there are lessons that Nigeria can also learn. We go around, we see good cars on the streets of South Africa. Good cars also exist in Nigeria, but I don't think they're locally made. At best, we have assembled, vehicles. So if South Africa can also show us how they were able to do that, I think that would also go a long way in helping our trade and bilateral relationships. Thank you.
We just have is there anyone else there?
Okay, thank you so much to all the panelists. That was a very brilliant, you had brilliant presentations. Just to add, I think, like since I've been to South Africa in my room, in my apartment room, each time I try to change TV stations, I noticed that we are together. You can't see anything beyond SABC, some cartoon stations. You can even see, what's that one? The Indian station. Yes, Z-World. I think the South African government, as I don't know, they have start from there. Then maybe we'll make a lot of progress. Thank you.
To what she said, I noted the presentation that the observation that he gave. So personally, one of the only things you catch me dancing to is amapiano, right? And that's because I'm interested. I think that we've come to the point where even if children or young people in the universities are interested, if they don't have access to that, information about other countries, they won't know much. So I think, like she said, it's time to stop being so restrictive.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Adeyemi Ogunputan. I'm a creative director in a media production company in Nigeria, in Lagos. I have a question, not really a question, sort of like a suggestion, because I'm hearing like issues between understanding ourselves internationally, like maybe there's this country that doesn't understand how it's done in another country, or maybe you might see a perception and come to South Africa, it's perceived differently. So maybe there's sort of like, because I know people get their general information from places like TikTok, like you all give examples, on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and stuff like that. But maybe sort of create a curated platform whereby journalists can understand themselves and understand, what happens on specific topics in specific countries. So you could say a situation that, let's say you have a topic of whatever it is, and you can have South Africans give their own initiatives, and there is a space for an answer, for a combined solution, in those respects. And it's not really a solution, it's just a combined understanding. So let's say there is a topic, you can easily have a combined understanding via South Africa and Nigeria, or can have a Kenyan stroke Nigerian understanding of a particular topic. So I think it's a space because I hear, and I like the sense of the way we present. We give a lot of issues and it makes us think. It makes us like, try and, get that answer, what that answer is, because none of us have the answer. We all can think dynamically and just give a certain answer to a situation. So I think there is a space for that in all what we've spoken about, and maybe something we can think about moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Are there any other comments, questions? Okay. So as we close off the last panel for the day, I just want to also tender my apologies for calling this the graveyard panel. This was by no means the graveyard panel. Did you all enjoy it? Wasn't it amazing? Let's give our fellows a hand. And also, I think we need to give the Pan-Atlantic academic team that have already started the curriculum with them. I think we can see the fruits of it. So well done to all of you. I'm going to call on Dr. Zondo now. I think it's going to be the certificate presentation. Not yet. Still. Oh, there's a lot. Okay. I always get it wrong. I just want to see the certificates handed out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear it once more for the last panel of the summit. Thank you to our chair, Prof. Prinola. Thank you to our panelists, Yemi, Blessings, David, and Zainab. Let's give them a big round of applause. Yeah, it's interesting that Amapiano is, we share the enjoyment of that genre. But what I find particularly interesting is that the genre is dying in South Africa now. Mapiano. So in fact, I'm seeing that this December we'll probably be dancing to a new beat. It's called the three-step. Yeah, three-step. I'm sure it will make its way at some point. But also look forward because we are enjoying also the Afro beats. Now that's my jam, and Maskandi. Maskandi music is the music that Zulu people listen to. And I should say that I'm a direct descendant of Shaka Zulu. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. It has been amazing. But we are not done yet. I think the session that we are now getting into is by far, our lunch is still far away. So what we want to do is, when we have summits, we need to be attentive to what is required to go forward. And one thing that has been loud and clear since yesterday and today is that we need to know what happens from here. We need to have key takeaways. We need to have key action points from the summit so that we do not come back next year and address the same questions, or even a new question, but without having had, concrete, or at least started working towards concrete solutions to the problems that we identified here and the needs that were voiced out here. So this segment, we have agreed that we will take some time to share collaboratively action points. And we will write them down. And those action points that will be shared by each and every one of you, the fellows and other delegates, will then be used to inform our strategy as to how we can further strengthen the partnership between Pan-Atlantic University and have clear and measurable outcomes for this partnership. Are we together? So what we are going to do now, I'm going to open the floor and hear from the fellows and every other delegate to say, in the past 2 days, with us having spent so much time speaking about harnessing the potential of media diplomacy in Africa, what do you think needs to happen? What should we do? That is what we'll be doing for the next 20 20 or 30 minutes or so. And we've got scribes in the room who will be taking notes, and those notes will be used to inform the strategy going forward. Are we together? Let the talking begin. I see a hand. Palisa. Can you also have that roving mic, please? Please.
What time is it? Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Palesa Moyo from the University of Johannesburg. So from what I've heard from yesterday up until today, the thing that highlighted, my highlights actually was that there is a lot of misinformation and disinformation that hinders public diplomacy from without verifying people who and
For Palisa, that's a good point. So for the scribes, if I understand correctly, the question is, how can we explore possible ways of training fact-checking to people, right? Fact-checking literacies.
I also want to challenge Valisa. How would you solve this? What are solutions to this? So let's focus on this session, not on questions, but on solutions. So my question to you is, how will you solve that?
Well, as I said, that I'm very privileged, like to be part of this summit. So obviously, I know that there are some platforms that I can go to verify the information, right? There's like, okay, now I can't think of any website, but then there are websites where I can just go and verify the information, because I do attend summits. We do talk about it in lectures and all those kind of things. But then for people who don't have the privilege, what about them?
Right. I'm gonna let me come to Ayobami. Yeah, you are putting your action point. Yeah, I believe that with the combined IQ in this room, if we can't solve it, no one can.
Okay, so I've got a list of action points. I remember walking through the house of Mandela in Soweto, and I saw something Zinzi said. She said the best gift a family gave to the country was that they documented the experience. So we need to document our experience. My own station back home is a station that is 80% local language. So part of the things I'm going to do is that maybe once or twice a day, we're going to have snippets of Nigerian history. We may mention a person, tell in 2 minutes who the person is, play it over and over again, different people, talk about countries in Africa, the things that they have the most, the things that you don't know about them, over and over again on radio. We translate to social media, making sure that people hear, people see about other countries. Also, during this discussion, we have said that people do not understand why they should listen to news from other countries and how it affects them, because we are telling it from the angle of other countries. So if US has made a policy that affects Nigeria and people do not know, my angle will be to tell them how it affects them and why they should be concerned. So I'm going to have analysts on it, tell from the Nigerian angle, tell from the African angle, how it affects us directly, and that is what we are going to run with. Not the US story at the headline, as Africa as the headline. What is our own action point? How do we address this situation? For example, if Trump is saying TikTok should not come to the US, how does this affect Africa? How does this affect Nigeria? I may not be knowledgeable in this, but I'll get people who know. So they'll come tell me, and that is what is going to be the news. Trump has said this, but this is how it affects us, and that is going to be an action point. Also to add to this, that we would make sure, fortunately, I'm also the head of News and Current Affairs, we will make sure that the foreign news desk now has more African stories prominently than the foreign stories. maybe a 70-30 percentage to tell more of African stories than the foreign stories. They are okay. We need to get there. So let's talk about ourselves.
Thank you, Ibam. Yes, ma'am.
Good day, everyone. Again, my name is Georgina Ndukwe. I work with Rise News in Abuja, Nigeria. I mean, this is a Media Innovation Summit, right? I expected to see some South African journalists here to help push this message. If they were present, they would have listened to what we have to say, probably network with us as journalists as well, and we can exchange ideas on how to push these stories. I mean, people listen to TV, listen to radio and watch TV stations. So when you reshape the narrative, correct the dis and misinformation, it will go a long way to enhance better collaboration and relationship between South Africans and other African countries. So, and also the young people. I expected to see more young or university students reading mass communication or even other courses here, so they can listen and use their social media platforms to change the narrative. When young people use their TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, it changes everything and it makes it a lot easier to and other countries' culture, other countries' people, as well as theirs. Thank you.
Once again, my name is Precious Ibo Belundu. I work for the Nation newspapers. Okay, I think for me, one of the things we should do as journalists, because this happened in the digital space, we do not really have control of the digital space. We should individually and collectively be intentional to launch ourselves out there with our own individual platforms. Aside from our media houses we are working for, our own individual platforms, we should now have the Pan-African approach to issues. I have learned vital lessons since yesterday. I own up that I think when there was, sometime in 2015 or 2019, where the video of, it was gory, let me not go into the details. I allowed my emotions get the better part of me. I'm a security reporter, by the way. So, but now coming here, particularly when we went to the apartheid museum, I've come to realize that it's an extremist ideology born out of self-preservation. But in preserving ourselves, we should not destroy others. So we should now we should have some sort of constructive self-preservation, which will start from, I think, both the South African media and the Nigerian media space. We should push forward the agenda of returning African history to schools. That's where we'll start. By the time you return African history to schools, starting from secondary schools, across the continent, let all the countries start teaching African history. Don't teach this history from a defensive background, no. Teach it constructively, so that we understand that migration is a normal and illegal human activity. By the time you trace your DNAs, maybe the people who are in South Africa today, maybe their forefathers some 400 years ago were Nigerians. And then by the time we all understand this issue, we also understand the gimmicks of the West, that is a divide and rule tactics. And we shouldn't allow them be the ones to dictate how we relate with ourselves. We shouldn't allow them be the ones to dictate how we love ourselves. Because the more we do it, the more they plunder our resources, the more they kill us, the more they turn us to wasteland. That's their interest. So if we return history back to the schools, the younger people who have access to these digital spaces will start to understand. There will be that reformation of ideas and knowledge. Then aside that, I think on our own platforms, like what I used to do, even before I came here, Nigeria, we have our peculiar issues. There's also the self-preservation among ethnic groups. So what I do on my Twitter, before I used to run away, I'm like, this place is too toxic for me, I don't want to stay. But when I came back, if I see anything that I think does not align with my unity agenda, I report it. I don't care who you are. I'll report you to Twitter. I'll keep reporting that they should flag your account. So if we all start doing that, I succeeded in bringing down about 2 or 3 accounts on Twitter. I'll keep reporting it and keep screaming it and keep sending it to the Western platform owners, so that they know that content like this violates Nigeria has a social media policy. It violates our country's social media policy, and it creates divisiveness, and it brings tension. I don't know if South Africa has a social media policy. If it does, that should also be inculcated. Let the people, let them know what this policy is about. Let them know that the actions you shouldn't take. In America, you have right to freedom of speech, but your right stops where another person's your right ends where another person's right stops. So by the time we all understand this, there's mutual respect, that we all know that we have some sort of responsibility, we have some sort of ownership within the African agenda. Then from there we can keep talking now. We're making some progress.
No, before the somebody. Okay, so when you mentioned that, I've been taking notes, and from what I think we agreed, or we are going to agree at the summit, is part of what she said and Georgina said, which I wrote down, and I think if I read it, I don't know if everyone will agree to it. I said that we affirm that media diplomacy should not merely react to external narratives, but must actively set Africa's agenda, amplify African voices, and project a balanced image of the continent. I'm sure we agreed on that. Yes. I also note down that there is need to encourage African governments, regional bodies, and media institutions to invest in platforms that promote cross-border dialogue, knowledge sharing, and fact-based storytelling. We agreed on that too. And finally, from what I note down, this is mine, I said there is need to resolve to strengthen partnerships with global actors while ensuring Africa retains ownership of its stories, narratives, and cultural identities. I think we can start from these 3 key points. Then, if there are other suggestions, we can note it down and be able to share it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yemi.
Okay, so my president has just outlined what we are going to do. So from the leadership perspective, we have learned that in the course of 2 days, we've learned that journalists are also ambassadors in their respective endeavors, especially when they travel outside their bases to report internationally. As you mentioned, of the African agenda, Professor Adbire also talked about how the African agenda is scattered. There's no one single African agenda, and no Africa doesn't seem to be speaking in one voice. So in that regard, there is need for harmonization of what the African agenda should be like. There should first of all be an African agenda and then a harmonization of it. And then in the current geopolitics that is going on, our leaders need to take a stand and communicate that stand very clearly. And because right now I don't think that the non-aligned position of some African countries can do it. So we should take a stand in the geopolitics that is going on. Then that way, in our respective, we can be able to communicate that and do our jobs respectively. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Some of the action points have been, in a way, abstract. So let's speak to the things that we would directly do, not the things that the AU leaders will do. Someone spoke to Media Editors Forum. The expectation is that you have asked media editors working for creating content with this. Practical things that can be done by the people in this room. After that has been done, you can now start setting the agenda for AU and the Nigerian government, because we don't have control over that. So let's deal with the things that are primarily within our control.
Yeah, thank you for that, Lakin. And on that note, there is not an opportunity, but a suggestion that our students would like to interview 4 MIP fellows about their experience of.
This is so fresh, my friends. It's actually not hatched yet. It's not out of the egg yet. This is now co-design in practice. Now, with the request from Dr. Chike, we actually thought of doing exactly what you said, Lucky. is to identify 4 fellows that 4 students are going to interview as we go to lunch. So if the 4 fellows that you've identified just can stay behind, or can you quickly just rise so that the 4 students that's going to interview you can see you? You've been identified by Chike. Good. There's one more need. David? Okay. So those are our 4 students that needs to do the interviews. Thank you. Those are the 4 fellows. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Renee. So, what I want us to now move to, because I think looking at the time, we do need to get into the certificate in 3 minutes, or should I go straight into it? All right, so let's do this. Ladies and gentlemen, what we are going to do now is that we will start handing over the certificates as part of your attendance of the summit, right? But I trust that all the suggestions that we have received have been noted, and I suppose we don't want to maybe, oh yes, sorry, I remember now. Please go.
Okay,
I
just
remember
a
that I was
quick
missing
one.
Someone, please.
Just a quick one, and I think it's a low-hanging fruit for, because I'm excited that, covering this event, like I think the UJ media team was involved, and that's really great and beautiful. And because over the past 2 days, we've said wonderful things and wonderful prompts and wonderful, because this prompts really is for us to go take action, right? And just to latch on what Georgina was saying, I mean, she said, obviously she wished different people were here and whatnot, and I know we have loads of content from this event, and please, there are loads of ways we can promote ourselves, 30 seconds videos. I mean, you guys have probably recorded over like 4 hours of content, right? Or I don't know. So I think there are loads of prompts there where we can create loads of small contents that we've created here, right? Because these small prompts may be so powerful, you never know how far they could go. So I think it's a low-hanging fruit that we can, pay attention to that and obviously promote what we've done here to obviously all young individuals across our social media content. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ayedemi. Thank you. All right, so now we are getting into the certificate awarding ceremony. I'm going to ask that the leadership of both MTN and Pan Atlantic University to please make its way to the front so they can assist us in handing the certificates over. So the idea is that when you are being handed the certificate, when your name is called, you come to the front, you get the certificate, you do the handshake, you smile for a photo, and then you walk back to your seat. Is that okay? I wonder if how we can do this. I was suggesting that maybe you call them out.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, do we have everybody in here, please? David, where's David, please? Okay, let's. I call your name, please. Just come out quickly and let's get this done, eh? Adeyemi Adebayo. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Yes, please. Abolaji Adebayo. Are we good? Abolaji, please. Please clap, 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 clap for your governor. David Afolayan, please get set. You're next. David, please clap. Ayobami, please get set. calling based on this. And lastly, Sylvanus Akapo. Good, thank you. Wilfred Akibe. No, you can carry on. So you okay? Come. Precious David Ogaga next. Please clap for him. Rebecca Edu next. I want to hear the clapping, please. Oludare Show. Royal eBay. Precious Igbowelendu. And Salem King. Chingwe Michael. Let's do this last one and then I'll call Funsho. Blessings Musugu. Thank you, Rene. Thank you. Funsho, please. Georgina Ndukwe. No, I won't run out. Asukwo Odu. Desmond Okon, next. Amaka Okoye, please get set. Tega Onojefe, next. Adeyemi Ogumpiton, next. Adaku Onyenucheya. Vanessa Richard. We have two more to go. If you don't hear your name after these two, forget about it. Amarachi Ubani, please. And we save the best for the last. Zainab Adam Yetunde.
Do we have all the... I hope everyone got, all the fellows got the certificates, yeah? Think them? It's okay. All right. So, if everyone has gotten their certificates, let us please give ourselves a big round of applause. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have done everything that we had set out to do for the next 2 days. Can I just have your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen? I'm almost done. Almost there. So we had a packed program for 2 days, and everyone that was on the program showed up and excelled in everything that they had been requested to do. All the contributions that have been made towards ensuring a successful 2025 MTN Media Innovation Summit are well noted. Your presence at this great institution is well noted, it is appreciated, and it is acknowledged. We've spent 2 days discussing the power and the potential of the media on our continent. Now, none of the things that we discussed were unknown. But the most important thing is that from the things that we discussed, which were known, the next step is in us being intentional about what we need to do. Because if we keep talking and talking and talking and doing nothing, this gathering would in fact be of no value. Now I'm charging each and every one of you to continue making the difference that we urgently need on this continent through the power that you have at your disposal, which is the media. You, as a media practitioner, do not wear a cape, but you have got either a pen on your hand or a keyboard in front of you to make a difference on this continent. The people that we have been waiting for to come and save us are not coming. We are those people. We are the people that we need. We are the solutions that we need on this continent. So as you leave the summit, remember that you are leaving with a huge responsibility on your shoulders to not only be the change that you want to see, but to also encourage others to work with you towards that change, because change will only be sustainable if it is pursued in collaboration with everyone who will benefit from it. So as we leave this summit, we leave with the knowledge that we've got a lot of work to do as an MTN in media innovation. Let me think of direct. So yeah. See, Mamelo is always in the background. See, Mamelo is always in the background. Even when you want to thank her, you will not see her, but there she is. You know, she put together, so we had an organizing committee. The Mamelo put together another committee on the side. The work that you are seeing here, and I'm seeing Michelle now here in front, this is all because of her. We had students that came to volunteer, right, to make sure that everything is smooth. They operate as ushers. They operate as, people who help you with the registration. Those are the people that have made this event possible. We've got our film students that also came up, showed up, to make sure that we document what we are doing here and better circulate it, better share these stories. Because this is in fact a gathering of telling stories about what Africa is about and what Africa needs to be about. And I want to acknowledge our film and television students for that. We also have UJTV, right? Hash's team. Whenever we call on UJTV for support for our events, there is never you know, they never think twice about it. They always say, we are there. Tell us when and where, and you will see us. Please, let's appreciate them as well. We have worked for some time now with Chief, with Foncho, with Lakin, and of course as well with Chike. It has been an absolute pleasure to work with you. It is smooth, it is seamless. We operate at the same wavelength, in the same spirit of unity and of togetherness. And that always makes being part of this great initiative all the more worthy. So thank you. And now to the MIP fellows, MIP 4. Executives. I like this. I like it. You know, what is fascinating is that the MIP as a program, it is not a program that brings people who are, I don't know in English how to say it, about fufusayo. Fufusa, what is it? Like people who are upcoming. No. This is a gathering of people who are giants in their field, people who are strong in their field. And it's always amazing to see people of that caliber all in one room. Hence, I believe, and when I said this earlier, that considering the combined IQ in this room now, if we cannot figure out whatever needs to be figured out, then no one can, because we've got the best of the best. So we thank you, we appreciate you, and we look forward to furthering collaborations with you. Right? So on that note, I'm going to step away. I am done. Thank you so much. We love you and we appreciate you. Chike.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. It's been a brilliant 2 days here. And I must say thank you to our brothers and sisters in UJ. When this partnership started, it started 4 years ago, I think. Even though we would say it's 3 years, but it's 4 years. But let's cascade down to just 3 years with UJ. It's been a wonderful time. I must thank my good friend, Professor Ufoma, who made this connection happen in the first place. And through him, we connected with Professor Prinola. And ever since, it's been wonderful. From Prinola, we got in touch with brilliant people, Rene, Sifiso, Admire, and a whole lot of them. It's been a fantastic partnership, and I think we don't even know to what extent this is going to get to, but we can feel how huge it will be. We must thank especially MTN Nigeria, Lucky and Funsho and all the team there. They have been brilliant. Never seen any team as great as them. They take these things on their head, even more than we do as academics. And sometimes you wonder, what is in this thing? But they make you rethink things over and over and to believe in the power of the media. And for them, and for that, we say thank you to them. I must thank Chief, my man. You know, he's been pushing. You know, even when he's tired, you still see him pushing and pushing and pushing. I must thank him specially for bringing that wise words as an elder. Thank you so much, Chief. Thank you. Okay, this is to say the final word. It's not a goodbye that we wouldn't see again. It's a goodbye to say that we've learned so much, we've heard so much. What is the need of hearing so much if you can't pour them out? So now we're going back to go implement all the brilliant points we've taken note of yesterday and today. And like as I always say, the world is a globe, it's a small village, right? We have our contacts, we can still stay in touch. We are not going away, we are just going into the different ends of the world to go make the world a better place for us. So we start from our countries, we expand to Africa. First, before we think about the globe, from local to global. Agree? Great. Thank you so much. Last clap, please. And just to announce, can we have Prinola, please, Professor Prinola? Do you mind coming up? And then the 4 panelists who gave that brilliant presentation. We need the picture, please. That's Blessings, Yemi, David, and Zaina, please. And after the picture taking, we then have the nominated fellows for the interviews. Please stay back for the interviews. Vanessa is also going to join them. Eh? So we have 5 fellows. Yes, Renan, please. Do you want to join them, please? Good. Good, 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 good. Are we good? Thank you so much. Okay. Now let's have the fellows, please, so the students can start up their interviews, huh? Okay, lunch. Yeah, the lunch is downstairs, huh? For those who want lunch. Okay, please, let's have a group photograph outside first before lunch. So that means we go out for the group photo, then the fellows for the interview comes back here, huh? Please. Let's all go out for the group photo now, please. Are we having it here?